Yes, recording.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
I
good.
love that.
All right.
Okay, we're good. Okay. Well, good morning, Cliff.
Good morning. And
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah,
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I know how busy you are. You have a busy schedule. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
sure. And thanks
I'm
for setting
sure,
it up again.
thank you. Thank you. I'm sure many of this young professional, our young members are looking forward to learning from you and from the other life members.
Hmm.
So let's talk about Cliff, your background with IEEE, your profession, what you are doing, and your enrollment with the IEEE and our section. Do you mind tell me and tell everybody about yourself, please?
Sure. So I attended the University of Texas up in Austin and joined IEEE when I was a freshman. So that was then part of Central Texas section, still is. And went through school and got out, and I got a job right out of school with the Dow Chemical Company in Freeport, Texas, which is not in I think it's in the Houston section.
It is.
And um, Attended a few meetings, and was your typical young professional, um, busy with being young. And After a couple of years, I got a job offer at a company here in San Antonio, which is also part of, or was part of Central Texas section, and attended a few meetings. It was at that point in time in the mid 80s, pretty easy to go up to Austin to a meeting or that sort of thing. I had a career with this company, USAA, doing telecommunications. They were fairly innovative with using 800 service to communicate with their membership, and then later kind of migrated into self-service using the World Wide Web, which we're all familiar with now, but it hadn't been around all that long.
Yeah. They were there that long. I did not know that. They have
Yes.
this huge long building by Warsbuck.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
So
but I did not know that.
they started out in the 20s, but their
Wow.
initial venture was in automobile insurance for military officers. And if you weren't in the military, you probably never hear about them, but they've since expanded and expanded their it's all financial services, and across the entire spectrum of the military. Um, so it changed a lot. I retired from there a couple of years ago, but while I was working there, I met Scott Atkinson, who I think you've interviewed, and he.
Well. I'm talking to Scott next week. He
Oh,
just
well,
emailed me.
okay.
Finally, he got some time, so I'm talking to
Good,
him next
good.
week. Yeah.
So he had he was an Air Force officer, so he had come to work at USAA from Houston also. And he worked in our same area, found out I was an IEEE member, and got me more active. And initially was active with Communication Society chapter, and served in a couple of officer positions there. And then he was instrumental in setting up or making the bid and successfully getting the GlobeCom conference, which is one of the flagship conferences for Communication Society, to come to San Antonio. Unfortunately, ours was right after 9/11. And so, with all of restrictions on flight and all that kind of thing, was not as successful as it could have been, but it was still pretty successful and quite an experience. And I also have served in Central Texas section in various officer positions, was the chair at one point. And when we got to 2019, I was the webmaster. I had taken over for John Purvis, who is
Mhm.
still an active leader up in Central Texas Senate Region
I
5.
think that's the time when I was working with John himself
Ah,
during the analog time. Yeah,
mhm.
but I met him first time 2012,
Oh, okay.
and we worked together, yeah, for a few
Yeah.
years. But
Yeah, he's
I
a
never
great
get
guy.
the chance to meet you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's with me now on the editorial advisory board of the institute. Actually,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
we talk together again. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He's very active. He's very active.
he is. Yeah. And a smart guy too. He did a good job.
Mhm.
He had set up the web page for Central Texas, and I told him I was interested in learning about that, and he helped me take it over. Um, and so that's kind of been my career. I worked in the operations side of communications pretty much the whole time at USAA, and
So you are an IT engineer by profession, right?
yes, uh-huh,
Okay. So in 2019 November, when the split happened, when
yes,
we decided to have our own section in San Antonio, the Lone Star
mhm,
section, so you witnessed that. I'm
yes,
assuming you were with Scott because Scott was the main engine behind that.
he was,
So
yeah,
could you share some of the memories about that time? What was the reason for the split? Was there
sure.
any need?
So there had been kind of the two hubs of the Central Texas section were San Antonio and Austin, and I guess to some extent, and they're about 90 miles apart geographically on the 35 corridor, and which is growing like crazy and was becoming more and more difficult to go either from Austin to San Antonio or vice versa. And there's a university, Texas State in San Marcos, which is not quite
Mm.
halfway in between, but it's in between Austin and San Antonio. And that university was building up their engineering program and kind of became our um, host for things that when we wanted to get the whole section together, usually a spring or fall planning meeting where we'd bring in all the chapters and section officers and plan what we were going to do for the next half a year. Um,
Yeah,
good.
I attended. I remember I attended one of these meetings. You know
Mhm.
that campus in the top of the hill. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was once only. Yeah.
yeah. So and they made it pretty easy for us to have our gatherings there. But there had been for I'll say for several years talk about um, either having a subsection or somehow being able to consolidate things in San Antonio and for the purpose of better serving the membership in San Antonio because it was just really difficult to participate if you have to go to Austin all the time. And
So the travel was the main reason.
I think so, yeah.
Mhm.
And the opportunities for people to be an active member, to serve in officer positions and
Mm.
get the experience, and to be able to do, if they had an idea that they wanted to do, certainly Central Texas section was would enable them to do that. But I mean, you've only got one chairman, you've only got one vice chair, one treasurer. So uh, those opportunities when we split the section, which we did in 2019. Now, we have to have officers and all that sort of thing. So people, you know, um, had the opportunity to step up and do those things and have done a great job with that.
Yeah, many of our San Antonio people were very active actually,
Mhm.
like Walt, like Scott you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And around that time, I believe San Antonio start growing like really big.
Yeah.
All this expansion of UTSA campus,
Hmm.
uh, Texas A&M campus,
Yes.
you
That's
know,
that's a new
in the
program.
southeast. Yeah, so with all this expansion and many companies, actually, I was surprised, and
Hmm.
that all happened maybe after I moved to 2007, and many companies start moving to San Antonio. So I think that made sense.
Hmm.
I'm glad Scott and everybody thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And then actually did it because we talked about it for quite a long time. There was a meeting called and we met at a local restaurant at lunchtime and made the proposal, took a vote, and signed the petition and sent it to Region 5, and it all went very smoothly.
And that meeting happened in San Antonio.
Yes, at the barn door.
Who was there?
Um, my memory, I couldn't tell you for sure, but there were a number of,
I know Scott. Yeah, I know
I'm sure
Scott.
that Nils Smith, he was our first
Neil
chairman.
Smith. Yeah, I
Um,
did not get chance to see him yet. Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe Walt
Good.
Downing was there.
He's always there. Yeah.
He served as
Garrett,
vice
maybe.
chair. Garrett, probably.
Ernest.
Yeah. And a number of other folks. There was probably 20 people there, I think. But
And that was around, end of summer in 2019 or earlier to that.
I think it was all pretty quick. So I think that Region 5 signed off in November. It was probably end of
Mhm.
September or something like that. Yeah. I
I
know it
like
was
that. Yeah.
right before the pandemic and right before they sent us all to work from home. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
formed up
I
our
mean,
chapter and thank God for Zoom, right? So,
yeah. I know the COVID started hitting around February, I believe. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay, great. How did that split impacted the growth of what we are doing in San Antonio, even before we become a section? How do you
Uh,
see that?
I
Beside the leadership part, which is important, actually. I'm glad you highlighted that.
yeah, I don't know that people, because it was difficult to participate, more so than it is now. I'm amazed when I go to, and there's a lot of opportunity when you're retired to go to lunchtime
Mm,
meetings. Um,
mm,
I'm amazed at how much participation there is. It's and so, which I don't think would have happened. It's very easy to sign up for a meeting that's like a virtual kind of meeting, and then decide at the last minute that oh, I'm too busy or I have this other opportunity or whatever. And but I go to life member meetings and EMB meetings and robotics meetings, all happening at lunchtime, and they are always well attended. Um, 15 or 20 people, it seems like.
mhm.
And generally the programs are pretty interesting. Um, kinds of things. We've had demonstrations of, uh, for instance, at SAMSAT, they had a demonstration of a Da Vinci robotic surgery or surgical robot, and one of the physicians who's familiar with that gave the presentation. So they're pretty good. Pretty
That's interesting part. Yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting part. Yeah.
There was a video he directed us to that I had to go watch. I have a older sister who's a medical illustrator, and this video was demonstrating the robot peeling the skin off a grape, which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. But
Yeah. Beside the leadership, the impact on the leadership,
mhm.
uh, and participation, how do you see this split impacted the innovations? I mean, the engineering industry in a whole, the educational, the young professional in San Antonio. Because I noticed something very interesting. I noticed more student section are joining the section.
Mhm.
I never heard of that before many years when we were just part of Austin.
Yeah. So um, so there was this idea that popped up while way back before the split. We used to have to send out a newsletter in the mail, and the
Mhm.
postage amounted to, and the printing and all that sort of thing amounted to about a budget of about $10,000 a year. And
Mhm.
at a point in time, we decided that we wouldn't send out the mail anymore. We'd do it electronically, which is, of course, now commonplace to do. But that freed up quite a bit of money, and one of the officers who was our student coordinator, I think was his position, decided that we should fund the university student chapters, in particular, whatever kind of projects that they wanted to do, and kind of formalize it where they had to make a proposal at the planning meeting. And there was one planning meeting where they would make the proposal, and the section would fund them. And generally it was to participate in the Region 5 robotics contest. And then they'd come back to the next planning meeting and kind of make a report on how they had used the funds. And generally, and at that point, there was UT and St. Mary's Trinity. I'm trying to think. There weren't as many university groups. I don't think at that.
UIW also, yeah.
Yeah, UIW. I don't think Texas State had really built up their program at that point, and Texas A&M didn't have a campus yet. But so that's kind of where that has happened. And now, and of course it was difficult for the students to participate because they all had to get together on a Saturday morning and drive to San Marcos as well. And anyway, it's continued. The tradition has continued, and it's much easier for the students to attend those meetings. And I think that our leadership is doing a great job of encouraging that kind of thing. And one of the things that they are really good at is being in touch with their faculty. And it's really hard to reach out directly to the students, but when you go through the faculty, it's a whole different deal. And
Clif, that being said, do we have someone in charge for coordination with all the student chapters?
Yes, I couldn't tell you without looking it up who that is, but
okay, but we do. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think most of that leadership group are at Southwest Research, which is also, it works well.
Yeah, I like what they are doing there always.
Yeah.
Just a quick note, please, before we go to the next question. You just mentioned the split was very quick.
Yes.
Was it smooth? Everything was okay? Did we have any issues, any challenge during that time?
Well, I wasn't directly involved as a leader. The impression that I got was it may have been kind of a surprise for the leadership in Austin of the Central Texas section. In other words, they hadn't, I don't think they were consulted per se, and weren't necessarily prepared with replacements for instance, I was the webmaster there, and so I tried to fill in for several months while they would find another webmaster. That was my immediate familiarity, but other than that, it was amicable. I think they had to split the funds between the two sections and did that based on membership counts. And that's
I'm going to focus in my conversation with Scott about that part actually, because I know he was in charge for that spot. Well, now let's talk. You just mentioned you were the webmaster. I really appreciate what you did. You just decided to stay for a few months with them until they found the replacement. That was very nice, and that's what we do actually. We always work together. At the end of the day, we are all an IEEE sections and society. So let's talk about your role. You are the webmaster of our section now. So what do you do, and what plans? Let's talk about what plans do you have for the future that will enhance our presence online. People will learn about us.
Sure. So that is, I think the web has a role, but it doesn't seem to be the primary communication tool. Um, um, that I guess is very fluid. And so we've added Collaboratech, which is a IEEE tool. We've definitely got some integration with the V tools, the events in particular. Um, and there's a Facebook group I know of.
Social social
Yeah,
media. Okay, great.
yeah,
Yeah.
social media, and and in particular, we've linked also the Facebook has all these interviews on there, which is kind of
Mhm.
neat. And so I don't. I'm going to have to say I haven't got a grand plan for innovation on the web per
Mhm.
se, but the way that it works really is that IEEE provides the tools, and that's short of going out and contracting um, on our own, um, which I don't think we have the depth to do really um, as a section. Um,
Mhm.
then we're working with the IEEE tools that are provided, and they take care of security and backups, and they all the server updates and all that kind of thing. So it's really on us to kind of work within the tool set that we've got and try to be creative and innovative. I think a lot of that's going to be through the social media because um, the web page is basically um, the one guy, kind of keeping it up to date.
Mhm.
Social media is the collaboration of anybody who wants to participate.
I
So
I
much
agree
more
with
likely.
you, Cliff. The web page can be a hub
Mhm.
where you can from there go to your social media, to the
Right.
different chapters, to the different groups. So hopefully, just before the meeting, I looked into our web page, which
Mhm.
was, I think, provided by the IEEE.
Yes.
So we hope that we I'm thinking like a member of the section or a
Yeah.
new member who's willing to learn. They want to go to one place.
Yes.
Okay, they want to go to one place where they can find a link to everything else, even
Mhm.
about membership schedule. Well, that's great. Do you anticipate any challenge beside? I can see the financial stress there. I don't want to call it stress, but shortage because we still a mid-size section.
Mhm.
Do
Uh,
you, do you, yeah, go ahead.
well, yeah. So I think that the challenge is going to be to be able to. There's a term limit on the officers, and
Mhm.
so there's always the challenge of having um, new new officers coming along and trained and and ready to step in and keep the momentum of things going. And that goes across the whole spectrum of the formal chair, vice chair, treasurer, but webmasters, student coordinators, people progress in their careers. And I know, for instance, we had a newsletter editor who was very enthusiastic. He got a new job and moved somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Fortunately,
yeah.
Joe Redfield was willing to take it back on until he could find, I think he said he found another um, person who was interested in doing that. But those are, I think, the main challenges are the people challenges. That,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But sometimes I don't agree with this because look to me. I'm working in this like 7,000 miles away.
yeah,
I
that's
I
great.
I, I took I talk to people who really move all around
Hmm.
the world, and they are doing what they have to do with their section and
Hmm.
societies. So I think that's really actually just we have to reach the right people always and,
Yes.
and make this happen. Uh, do you see any challenge with the growth of the section itself? because of the social media, because of the impact of social media we have?
Um, well, it seems like to me,
Maybe challenge wasn't the right word. Do you think that social media is gonna help us to invite, to welcome, to get new members in San
yeah.
Antonio?
So the challenge probably is the right thing. So there's kind of this whole age spectrum, and I know it's kind of funny. I was in a meeting yesterday with the life members, and there's a going to be a life member conference in the Austin area coming up, and
Mm.
and there was a idea to sponsor a reception, and and Scott Atkinson, who was ramrodding this, said that he got most of his responses to this via mail. People were registering, writing out a check, and mailing it through the U.S. mail to him. And so you'd never expect that from a new college graduate. They would
That's cool.
communicate to you through social media, and they'd use the electronic, Venmo or something to pay for their activity, and probably wouldn't be all that interested in coming to a reception. However, they might be very interested in going to a meetup where they might meet another prospective employer or that kind of thing. So that whole broad spectrum of, you have to do it all. You have to use
So
all the
were
communication
were
path.
we able to raise that money? I think it's
We
around
did.
7,500. Yeah, good,
Yeah, we
good.
did. So that
I'm
is,
glad
yeah,
we should make announcement of that.
I
Okay,
yes, yeah,
I love to hear that. I'll talk to
yeah,
Scott about it also. That's
yeah,
great news
yeah. He
because
wanted,
this is the first life members conference, and it's a
mhm,
huge. The
yeah,
whole IEEE is talking about it now.
yeah,
Uh, I talked to John about it. We talked to Walt about it. So
mhm,
it's going to be important.
yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah. But
we
to
have.
have that
Go
whole
ahead.
broad spectrum of communication pathways is, I think, going to be key.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I know it's hard to, as one person, take care of. To be a webmaster of a section of almost, we're going to be hopefully 1,000 people soon.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
easy. I know it's not
yeah.
easy. So we have a time for last question, Cliff.
Sure.
Where do you see the future of the section? Uh, how do you see San Antonio section is going, Lone Star section is going?
I think it'll be very successful. I'm sure it will continue to grow. One of the things I recall from one of the other interviews is that San Antonio, the U.S. military, has consolidated all their medical commands here in San Antonio. And so that's a lot of professionals and all the support that goes along with it. And I know that a lot of the meetings I've attended have really been around that kind of thing. I know we had a meeting where it was a company that builds modules for like a surgical suite that you can roll into an aircraft. And yeah, I mean, just things like that, I think San Antonio will continue to grow as a technology hub. There's a whole cybersecurity command that's here. And as a consequence, there's a whole emphasis of cybersecurity at UT San Antonio, I think. And so that,
I think Texas A&M, they have program also.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
I think San Antonio is going to continue to grow until the water runs out. Um,
Mhm.
but, but,
I love that.
I'm sure that
Yeah,
it'll
many
continue.
people, I don't know if they realize San Antonio is the 10th largest city in the US.
Mhm.
It's a huge.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
do you have a final word you want to address everybody with it, Cliff? I'll leave the last few minutes for you.
Oh,
Take your time.
well, thank you for setting all this up. This is the very innovative and a great way to
That's pleasure.
capture
It's
this
always a pleasure.
history. And we'll get it all. I believe it's posted on YouTube and it'll be linked off our webpage,
It does.
which is great. And hopefully, you know, it will inspire some of our members to become, you know, to be interested in a leadership role and come help us innovate and make the Lone Star section a better section.
Mm. So if young professionals now are listening to you, why do you think, from San Antonio, why do you think they should join us? How do you encourage them?
Yeah, that I asked the same question, and Joe Redfield said that he could, through the IEEE, practice the things he needed to be good at work without the risk of making a big mistake and getting fired. So IEEE is a place where you can come hone your skills, whether they're technical or soft skills, meet other people probably who you don't necessarily work with on a day-to-day basis, and share ideas and just you know, improve your situation in your professional life, and make lifelong friends. And you know, I've known some of these guys for, gosh, 20 or 30 years. And it's been a very enriching experience. So and continue to meet new people all the time. So 7,000 miles away. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
it's,
Well,
that's
Cliff, thank you for all what you're doing. I really appreciate it. It's not easy job. I would like everybody to know that one person is taking care of our web presence in the section. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for your services with the IEEE.
well,
And please, thanks for your wife for helping us in setting
oh,
this up.
I will
Thank
tell
you.
her you said that.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. I am going to stop our recording